Hello everybody, it's Jeremy here and welcome to the late October, very late October webinar from White Hat Media. I hope you guys can hear me. What I'll do in a couple of minutes, I'll just check that everybody can. If you've got a problem, then by all means post a little message in the message box, as it were, at the bottom, and we'll see what we could do. Don't worry though, because we will be posting this one up and archiving all the webinars we do. But anyway, without further ado, welcome. It's 13:01 here in the UK. I've noticed we've got some people looking from elsewhere, so that's great. Welcome to you guys. I guess you are looking at it, listening to this at a different time zone. Very welcome. Anyway, as I say, without further ado, let's get on with the webinar. So what we're going to talk about for the next 45-50 minutes or so is pretty well what I'd call hardcore SEO. So it's really about search, yeah. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions in search. There's a lot of so-called experts out there, and you know, you can go to the conferences, you can read the articles, you can read. There's a lot of confusion. So what I'm going to try and do for you is to sort of cut through all that and get to the essence of what I think, or rather what I know is good best practice in SEO. So we're going to I'm going to try and change slide now, which is quite slow with this system. Let me just go to the first. There we go. Before we carry on, a hashtag. If you want to chat about this session or say how good stroke bad it was afterwards, please feel free to either email us at talktome@whitehatmedia.com, or better still, because then we get the whole network thing going, if you could post under the hashtag WHM web, which is WHM webinar, but WHM web, and I'll try and answer any questions you may have. And as I say, feel free in the time-honored manner of social media. Okay, so I'll talk a bit louder because my colleague here has just told me that it's quite quiet. So you may have to turn me down if you've got a really sensitive microphone. So I shall talk a bit louder. Okay, so how do we get top? How do we get higher? And here you see a lady jumping in the sky, because I think that nicely reflects on what we're trying to do. We're trying to get higher in the SERPs, in the search engine results pages or ranking pages. So without further ado, let's look at the basics. Now, a lot of people think they know about SEO, as mentioned, and I'm a bit I don't know, I'm a bit of a skeptic on that point. There are lots of sort of guides out there and white papers you can download, loads of blogs, but I'd like to get back to the basics. And when I say the basics, I don't necessarily mean the simple, easy stuff. I mean the basics. And the problem is, when you're looking at the essence of search engine optimization, who do we believe? Because there are, as I said, dozens of so-called experts, and many of them are genuine experts. But who can we really believe when taking advice on how to get to the top of the search engines? Well, I've sort of thought long and hard about this, and I think the best, in my opinion, the best and most reliable source of advice are the search engines themselves. And as most of the search engine activity out, you know, in both in Europe, Middle East, the Americas, and so on, not China, possibly not Russia, is of course Google. So really what Google say is probably going to be true. And the thing is that Google do tell us a lot of stuff, and they don't want to give the whole game away, but if you actually look carefully at what they're telling us, you can actually improve your site hugely. Okay, so the first place I will go to, I'd strongly recommend people go to, if you haven't done so far, is of course the Google guidelines themselves. So if you go to Google, simply key in Google Webmaster Guidelines, you will be taken to a page that looks at the top like this. And these pages also link you on to all sorts of other pages which also tell you a great deal about, in fact, pretty well everything you need to know about optimizing your sites or site pages or content or images, videos, etc. for Google. And because most other search engines take the lead from Google in terms of the design and the way they work, therefore other search engines as well. And if you go to Webmaster Guidelines, you start to see how Google, and as I said, presumably other search engines, how they think with regards to ranking pages and sites. And the first indication of how Google thinks is how it split up the information it tells you. Yeah. So within the guidelines, essentially you get advice and lots of tips. I mean, mountains of advice in certain specific areas. The first of those is design and content. And what I'm not going to do is I'm going to list or bullet point or everything Google says, because that would be a waste of time and we've only got 45 minutes. But there is a lot of advice within the guidelines about how you should design, note design, user experience included, and content. Yeah. Second area it looks at is the technical stuff. Yeah. And typically, I mean, if you are a techie, then no problem. You'll be interested in doing it yourself. If you're not, then you need a techie, not just any techie or technical team. You need a technical team who understand search engine optimization and, again, how the Google algorithm works and how Google thinks and how it ranks pages. So it's one thing getting a design agency or a development agency to build your website. It's another thing getting a design agency or a development agency to do your SEO. And of course, it doesn't have to be the same thing. You can get at White Hat, we do a lot of work with developers. If you are a developer, come and talk to us. We like working with developers, and we don't expect them necessarily to have a huge amount of information about SEO. That is not essentially what they do. They build websites or they design websites. So they may need advice and help to do the SEO elements of that. And the third element is a sort of catch-all, because I personally think that quality actually applies to both to design content and, of course, technical, but there's a sort of catch-all section. And really, if you think about this is what Google is telling us, then one has to assume this is how Google has constructed their engine, if you like, their search engine. They look at these three, if you like, buckets of expertise, of quality. So they look at design and content, technical and quality. And I'll give you a little sort of potpourri, a little sample of the sort of things you may or indeed may not know that come under these various sections. The first is design and content. Now, keep the links on a given page to a reasonable number. The question, of course, is, what do they mean? What is a reasonable number? Yeah, they don't define what a reasonable number is, but I can pretty well guess that if one has 1,000 off links from a page, then Google isn't going to like that very much. What happens if you have 100 off links? If you have 50 off links, is that a reasonable number? And this brings in the whole concept of Google's can be slightly vague. So the key here is to test it. So if you find that by increasing the number of off links from your page, you start to get a negative effect on your rankings, then reduce those. And of course, there was a time, hopefully none of us are doing this these days, when we used to use things like so-called fat footers, which are a footer of a web page that's got literally dozens of links, often keyword rich, pointing to other areas of the site, merely to get some type of search advantage. Of course, Google nerfed that a long, long time ago, so it's not a good idea. But in terms of the structure of the site, really one doesn't want to have thousands or even hundreds of links off any page, including the home page. So that's a tip. But there's other things as well in the design and content area, quite a lot. As I said, I haven't got time to go into them all at the moment, but by all means, make a point. Put something on your to-do list to go and read that section. Okay. Another section is the technical side. Now, this again, we do a lot of site audits and site reviews and that sort of thing, helping people out, and we often find there is simply no robots.txt. And this is a something that ideally you need to pass to your technical guys, to your development team. There should be a robots.txt. While the robots.txt, essentially what the robots.txt does is it informs Google, gives it all sorts of information about what it can look at and what it can't look at and so on and so forth. And it's a technical thing. It has to be created typically, as I said, by one of your technical team, or you can do it yourself. But all sites should have robots.txt, and one of the things Google will look for is the presence of a robots.txt. If it cannot find a robots.txt, then of course it's going to harm your listings. And again, there are other things. I don't want to get too technical at the moment, but there are other things within the technical sphere that you need to work with your technical teams to improve, or you need to work with an SEO specialist like ourselves who can work with your technical teams to make sure that they're doing the right thing. Okay? And as I said, there are some development teams out there, development companies that do know about SEO, no question. But there are many, many more that don't, because they don't make it their business, because it's not in essence what they do. There are also, and this is where it gets complicated, there are also development teams who say they know about SEO but don't live it and breathe it and maybe, do need a little bit of help. And as I say, we work with development teams all the time to improve the SEO of people's websites. Quality. Now this one, again, out of the sort of big list of type of things within the quality section of the Google guidelines, this wonderful statement. So while at the same time, of course, what we're trying to do is to achieve, pages that appeal to the search engines, Google is very clear, and see, Google's actually trying to edge towards that itself. It's trying to say, okay, we will reward pages that are natural. Yeah, it's even called natural search. We will reward pages. So if you start doing things that are sort of look a bit strange, yeah, and that includes overcomplicated, clever type of technology. If you get too clever with your pages, it can actually harm you. So think about it. You've got the search engine. You want to make it as easy as possible for Google to index and rank your pages high. Okay, so that means thinking about how the user would perceive your pages. Again, if you've got large cluttered pages with large files, heavy downloadables, all sorts of things like that, then of course users are going to have a problem, but of course the search engines are also going to have a problem, and therefore that's going to compromise your site. So there is a certain degree of keeping things simple and straightforward, especially in the technical area. Okay, now image. Again, Google looks at images, and it has an entire part, if you like, of its algorithm, or indeed separate algorithm for considering images. As you know, you can do image searches. I use it all the time when we all use them all the time. We do searches for particular images, and of course within the way that images are optimized, again, you need to be able to you need to be able to. I think I've got a bit of echo there. Your mic. Okay, I'll carry on. So you also need to be able to optimize your images. Hold on. Okay, I'll go back in. Okay, I think we fixed that. Hope you can hear me again. We seem to be getting some echo there. Good old technology. Okay, so just coming back to that. Make sure you optimize your images. Let's just pick up where we were. Okay, how do we do that? Well, as I said, there's a complete section on that in guidelines, but this is the one that I think maybe we all know probably about alt image tags, but this is one that we may not know about, which is file names. It actually should, when you create an image, the file name itself should be informative. Now, this may only make a very small impact on your overall search performance, but if Google is saying to us, this is something that you should do, then we have to accept that that is probably something we should do. And and all these little things that we can do to improve our search positions is a good thing. And the other point on this is that, of course, as I said, a lot of people search for images. And so therefore, if someone's searching, I mean, this is a ridiculous example for a black kitten image, of course, Google will pick up the alt image tags and other aspects. What Google can't do, and it says this very clearly, what it cannot do is read text within an image. And although there have been attempts to change that, truth is that if an image has some text in it, then of course there's no, it simply can't see that. Okay, so that's on that. Now, moving on. Got about 15 minutes in, so it's now quarter past here. So let's talk about video. Video is a very good thing to do. There's a huge growth in video going on. It has been for years, but video is becoming even more popular, and it's highly recommended to have videos on your web pages, on your website. And again, Google provides a whole ton of advice on how to optimize videos in this section. Okay, and one of the things I picked up on this, and each of these there's a whole section behind it, and this is something, and this is going to, you already realize what I'm getting to now. Submit a video sitemap. I mean, how many of us, okay, how many people know that it's a good idea to submit a video sitemap or MRSS feed to Google in order to get your videos properly optimized? Yeah. So again, if you work through it, we all know videos now are really, really important, decent SEO. And if you work through the list of things that Google recommends that you should do, you will definitely perform better in the search listings. And the interesting thing, of course, as we know, Google owns YouTube. So because Google owns YouTube, of course, there's a lot of, it gives, apparently gives video a much better chance of listing higher on the site. So those are the sort of areas, as I said, I obviously haven't got time to go through all the details of all the different sections. The biggest piece of advice here, and the deliverable, is take the time to check what Google is telling us to do. And really, before one goes off to, search engine strategies conferences or Moz or any of these other sites, it's a good idea just to take a look at the Google guidelines and fix those things first. Yes, the sites I've mentioned, the search engine strategies, the conferences, the Moz's of this world, and so on and so forth, are really, really useful if you're really into SEO, and you should be. If you're not getting the basics right first, then why go to the more advanced levels? And these things are really, you should just simply work through the list. Now, if you want an easy checklist, we have created a checklist not just on search, but on a number of other areas. Charlie here, he really took a lot of time, went through all the site audits that he could find on the web. He literally reviewed about 30, 40 different site audit lists, and we've pulled out into that one single document that you can use. If you want that document, just email us at talktome@whitehatmedia.com and put the heading in Charlie's audit, yeah, and then we'll get that, and we'll send that off to you by PDF, because Charlie took about a week or 2 weeks doing it, and it's a really good document. So it's a nice little checklist. It's literally got tick boxes which you can go down in lots of different sections and say, I fix this, I fix that, I fix this. And if you get 100%, then absolutely brilliant. Okay, rich snippets. What are rich snippets? Rich snippets are the things you see just under the search returns. And again, it's a good idea to optimize your rich snippets. How do you do that? Well, again, Google tells you. In order to be eligible for rich snippets, you should mark up your site's pages using one of the supported formats: microdata, microformats, RDFA. And again, I could go through and probably send you to sleep by describing how to do all those things. But what I would strongly recommend you do is again, either talk to your own developers or your own technical team to tell them this is something that you want to do, or you are a techie, in which case, listening to this, in which case you need to go off and do it yourself, or speak to a specialist SEO agency. This is my pitch, like ourselves, so that we can triangulate and get all of those things done. Okay? Because if you actually look at that, you can't avoid the technical side of SEO. You cannot avoid it. It is, as you saw when we were looking at the guidelines sections, there is a technical section there. There are technical things you need to do to your website. The first of which, of course, is checking your website for technical problems in the first place. And you need to know what you're looking for. And typically, what happens with us is we look at a website for the technical issues, and there are fixes that need doing. Sometimes we find that a site is so bad it needs completely starting again. You know, it's been sort of patched up with sticky plaster and bandages and so on and so forth. Not literally, but you know what I mean. And sometimes you say, okay, let's start again. Equally, of course, there's things that if you change your website, you need to understand things like redirects and so on and so forth. But you do need the same way to do a really good set of accounts that can be audited properly. You need someone with financial know-how. In the same way, if you're going to do SEO, you need to go beyond just the development team. You need to find developers who do understand SEO. And sometimes, as I say, they may be separate. You'll get good developers who don't understand. In fact, more often than not, to be honest, we find a lot of developers who don't understand SEO. But that's okay, because as I said, that's not necessarily their job. Their job was to create the site, not necessarily optimize it for search engines, which is where you need some experts who go in there and do that. We've also got an app, which some of you may know about. What we've launched is now launched into a separate vehicle called Site Checker, and you'll find it at sitecheckerapp.com. Free sign up for one site. You can go in there. You can all the things we've modeled it basically on the Google guidelines. So as many things as possible within the Google guidelines we've included. And I think you can look at something like 40 different factors of this about your website. So things like title tags, H1s, and broken links and all that sort of thing. If you look at the Google guidelines and then look at Site Checker, you can see how we've built the application to reflect the problems that Google, the issues that Google doesn't like. So again, it's free, so why not? What's wrong with that? Just run your site through it, check it, and you can share it with your developers if you like. And any feedback, please give us feedback, because we're always trying to improve it. Okay, you get what in Site Checker, what you get, as I say here, you got just some demo sites we've looked at, some multiple sites. You've got a score there. If it's just on the right hand side here, you've got a little type of magnifying glass type symbol that takes you to the full report. He says quietly and conspiratorially, you can also check your competitors as well, and you can also check what keywords your competitors are targeting, which is quite fun, because then you can say, okay, so they're targeting those keywords, we will target those keywords, and we will make our pages better. And thereby you have a very good chance of pushing yourself higher than your competitors with your particular target phrases. So you can monitor performance, so you can measure performance over a period of time. But I'm not here to pitch you Site Checker. I'm here to tell you share about you with SEO. It's just a nice little tool to fix those things. And of course it does it using the traffic lights tool. It's a powerful piece of software. It's been developed over 6 or 7 years. It's got a nice interface. Check it out. Okay, algorithm updates. Okay, we know that the algorithm updates, but you know, what does that mean? Okay, well, what it means is that Google wants the best results to be at the top of the search results. And the reason it wants the best results to be at the top of the search results, if you've been to any of my sort of face-to-face talks or workshops, is that Google is a publisher. And Google makes most of its money, about 96%, from from ad revenues. And advertising, when you are a publisher and you're relying on advertising revenues, you want your content to be as good as it can be, and therefore you constantly improve you want constantly improvement going on with the content that appears at the top of the search listings. And this is also true, of course, with Google. It's also true with Facebook, most social media networks. Good content gets to the top. Yeah. And in order to achieve that, what Google does is it improves the algorithm all the time. Yeah. Now, this is interesting. You can actually go to the Moz website, the site I just mentioned, moz.com, used to be called SEO Moz by Rand Fishkin and colleagues. Randfish, and basically this is the number. If you look here on this particular slide I've got here, this is the actual number of updates. This was the entire set of updates from 2007. One called Buffy, strange name Buffy, which came out in June 2007, and one, the Universal Search update, big update, when Universal Search, which is all the sort of clutter, I guess you could say, maps, shop, etc. That's Universal Search. That came out in May 2007. So that was it as far as Google updated its major updates algorithm. If you compare that with now, this is just the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks or so. Yeah, there's been 3 fairly chunky updates. Now, what's interesting here is that Google doesn't announce updates like it used to. So you'll see here on the Moz website, you'll see the source of some of these updates is actually been, you can see search metrics there, torrent freak, and so on and so forth. So you've got 3 or 4 major updates each month now, from 2 a year. Okay, and another tip here is keep up to date with the updates. Yeah. In terms of the Panda update, which turned SEO world inside out, that was about content, and it's been rolled out in different phases. And if you go back here, look at the previous slide, we can see that a Penguin update, the Penguin update here has been just recently updated again. You can see these updates, the Panda was also rolled out in phases, but Penguins and Pandas, we'll talk about Penguins in a moment. A Penguin refresh, so more than a year after the previous Penguin update, named as 2.1, Google launched a Penguin refresh, and this was in October. So this update appeared to be smaller than expected, 1% of etc., etc. But these updates they're not instant. They're basically phased, and the same as I mentioned with Panda. Panda refers predominantly to content, quality of content, and so on and so forth. And Penguin refers to inbound links in essence. So you need to, again, in addition to understanding the guidelines Google are telling us, we also need to understand how the landscape, if you like, is changing. And as I said, the landscape changes in a fairly significant way frequently nowadays. So you need to keep up to date with the updates. And best source of that is Moz. But the other thing I would recommend is again, if you're using, this sounds again a bit pitchy, but if you're using experts, then they're going to be doing that for you. We as a company keep updates. We keep up with all the updates. Of course we have to, because it's our bread and butter. And so if you're going to work with someone to improve your SEO, make sure that they keep up with the updates. And again, I love developers, been working for 20 years, but developers pure play developers don't, it's not their job to keep up to date with all the SEO updates. So even if you're using a technical team, it's highly unlikely they're going to be reading Moz all the time unless they're already SEO specialists. So my point there is that you're going to have to, again, keep up to date with the updates and keep in, of course, abreast of all the Google guidelines, and they change as well, by the way. So that it's a dynamic thing. It's moving all the time. So work with people who understand that and keep up to date with the latest techniques. And I've shown you 2 sources there. If you want to do this yourself, if you're a sole trader and you don't want to outsource, then of course you need to do that. If of course you are from a corporate, then on top of everything else, that's quite a big ask to keep completely up to date with all the updates. So you need to work with people who do. Mobile adherence. I called mobile adherence because I'm thinking there's so much in that. So how do we deal with mobile? Well, we all know, again, no secrets, mobile has gone huge, and that means, by mobile means basically tablets, smartphones, feature phones, hybrids. Yeah, hybrids are the ones where you can unpop the screen from the keyboard on a laptop. These are all considered mobile devices. Laptops, interesting, aren't necessarily considered mobile devices unless they use GPS. But how do we create websites? Some of you probably already know the answer to this. Basically, it's responsive design or adaptive design. Now, here is a press release. Now, this press release is 2 years old, yeah, and it's from the Google Webmaster Central blog. And this, again, is from Google, yeah. It's actually a press release they put out. You may have missed it when it came out, but I just want to draw your attention to, because I could have bullet pointed all this or, you know, had a big graphic or something, but I thought it would be easy just to show you the actual text. Recommendations. This is from Google itself. Recommendations for smartphone optimized sites. Okay, so it tells you sites that use responsive design, blah, blah, blah. Item 1, in bold, this is Google's recommended configuration. So what Google is saying is use responsive design. So if you want to be high when somebody does a mobile search, in other words, a search with a mobile device, make sure that your site has responsive design. That's what Google says. So if you haven't, and I know many of the larger businesses out there, you guys are already on this, but if you haven't optimized your website, web pages, for mobile devices, and it gives you some tips there on how to do that. This is actually, on this particular point, really important, because Google is actually saying fix the site. So I've put a little red box around that. Make sure that you're using responsive design. Okay, again sounds a bit pitchy, but hey, it's a free guide. If you want the free guide to doing this, to responsive design, we've got a free guide which I will send you if you just email the word mobile in the header to talktome@whitehatmedia.com. If you haven't, we have this on a link from our homepage for a long time, but if you haven't got that guide, or you've lost the one that you already got, by all means drop us a line and we will send you it via email. So you got the free auditing list, Charlie's list, and you've also got this free again, mobile ready, make your site mobile ready using responsive design. Okay, I wanted to mention this site. Again, I always mention it often when I'm doing face-to-face workshops. Really great little site, and it's called Think with Google, and it's just loaded with stuff about all things search. It's got all sorts of it's recently got a lot of videos as well on YouTube. It talks about YouTube, and of course it talks loads about mobile. So if you want to learn more about how the mobile market is in different places, and indeed how to make the most of the whole mobile revolution that's going on at the moment, then it's a really, really good resource. And you should, again, on top of all the other things I've been sharing with you, you should do this. It's just loaded with fascinating stuff. And this one here, you got 59% of people with a mobile, with a smartphone, visited a business's website. And I always thought it was interesting here. Mobile users who make a purchase visit mobile websites 6 times. So, you know, that we call that, we need to look at the attribution of that. So if before someone makes a purchase with a mobile, they're visiting a site 6 times, which obviously requires a certain degree of visibility in terms of social media, in terms of search. This is, again, a resource I just wanted to share with you. And you need to get your head round the whole mobile thing that's going on, which means basically create content that appeals to mobile users, which is typically shorter and more succinct than for, say, laptop users. It's usually obviously lighter in terms of file size, smaller graphics, that sort of thing. And of course, you're going to be using responsive design as well, or possibly adaptive design. And obviously, you need to be speaking with developers to get that done as well. Okay, let's just talk about good content. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about content because A, we've already been running for 35 minutes, and B, I think that content deserves an entire session. We did a session last month on content and SEO, and I think it's probably time for us to do a whole session just basically focusing around content. We have got recently we sent out, you may have received an email inviting people to download an ebook as a free ebook about how to create good content. So again, if you want that ebook and you didn't see that email, just mail the talk to me at White Hat Media with the word content in the header, and we'll mail you that. Loads of freebies, loads of stuff to read, loads of knowledge there. Okay, now I just wanted to pick one particular item from this list here, because this is content guidelines I mentioned before, and it's really in-depth articles, because there is a facility within Google in order to be able to create something called in-depth articles. But Google, if we go to the previous slide, as you see, there was a whole list of things. So I'm picking on in-depth articles because, again, I think it's something that a lot of people are not aware of, even if you are good at SEO, even if you know about optimization, title tags, H1 tags, you might not know about in-depth articles. On the other hand, you might know about them. And Google basically gives guidelines into how to create these articles. Okay. The first is that you need to use the schema.org markup, which is a particular way of marking up a piece of content. Yeah, it's a format. It's guidelines on how to specifically, as I say, mark up articles. So that's the first thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but you'll see that mentioned. Okay, pagination, same type of thing. You have to create your articles in a certain way, and you have to paginate them in a certain way, and Google will tell you how you should paginate your articles in order to get the in-depth article. Use of logos, it suggests that you should use your logo. In other words, you should brand your articles. Google, as I said, is very keen on making sure it has content which is worth reading at the top of its search listings, because then it does that. More people search, more people read those articles, and guess what? They sell more advertising. So it specifically says if you're going to create an in-depth article, make sure you include the source of the article, i.e. your logo. And then finally, restricted content. This is slightly ambiguous. In fact, don't restrict your content, it should say. If you stick content behind a firewall, even if you're a publisher or even if you're publishing, in other words, if you have to log in to see that content, then Google can't find it. So what you need to do is you need to have some content in front of the firewall so that Google can can index it for particular search words, etc. So there's quite a lot. I mean, there's a whole section on this about how to create in-depth articles. Guess what? In-depth articles get better preference in search listings. So have a look at that. It's something you may not have heard of, and it's certainly something worth looking into to see if you can create some in-depth articles. And they literally call them, these are not, it's not just an adjective here, it's an actual label that Google gives it, and it's a way of getting Google's attention to the best of the content on your site. Okay, how do you do those things that I've just mentioned previously? Again, you're going to need to get the schema.org markups done properly. You're going to need people who are not just developers. You need people who are SEO experts to help you with that, or you are going to have to be one yourself. Again, it doesn't have to be developers. It could be people, he said, who know about SEO that can just help you get those things right. What does that mean? That means that those articles that you've crafted carefully are literally going to be higher on the search listings. What does that mean? You're going to get more searches come through to your website. What does that mean? You're going to get more conversions. What does that mean? You're going to get more sales. So that's got to be a good way. Penalties. Penalties you can do. Penalties are legion. Yeah, these are all the different ways, or some of the ways, that Google hates. And again, I'm going to, rather than go through the whole lot, because there's a heck of a lot of them, scraped content, abusing rich snippets markup, loading pages with irrelevant keywords, and so on and so forth, I'm going to pick on one particular one, which is close to my heart, which is participating in link schemes. Yeah, now for years, what's been going on is that we, SEO agencies, have been building links, because this is called off-page SEO, and once you've got your pages sorted out, that's what you do. You want lots of great links, and there are many ways of building or getting or achieving or gaining links to your web pages, and some of these are very grey or black in their nature, what we call black hat, grey hat. They aren't, Google don't like people doing them. And I just want to cover that. So participating in link schemes is one. If you just drill down into that a bit more, what we used to do, link building was actually fairly straightforward, because there was tons of directories on the web, and we went off and we built these backlinks from these directories. Or we could go into forums and we could put the links in signatures, or we could just start posting blogs, and it was quite a simple playing field. And again, you may have seen this slide before if you've been to one of my face-to-face workshops, but things have got much more complicated. There are many ways that you can now build backlinks, some of them better than others. I think one of the better ways is genuine, and I emphasize the word genuine, social media outreach. Videos is a good genuine way to get backlinks, using sort of PR tactics, in other words, genuinely working with other websites to give them content, provide them content, and so on and so forth. Then there's sort of ways that I guess Google's trying to stamp out, which they've been trying to stamp out, of course, through Penguin for a long time, which is obviously article-specific websites. I mean, those are pretty well gone now, where we used to use networks of article websites just to get the backlink, and infographics have been hit recently as well. So you need to have a good understanding of how to get decent backlinks. And the problem is that Google have said what they don't like, and Google have indicated what they do like, and they keep using this word relevant, genuine, backlinks that actually users find useful. But without a doubt, what you need to do is you need to identify what backlinks you currently have and get rid of, if you can, the backlinks that are hurting you. We call these toxic backlinks. These are links maybe that in the past people have helped you build to your website, maybe even agencies have helped you build. And many of us, many people in SEO were doing backlink building 3 or 4 years ago that nowadays is not considered great. And there's a whole industry building up whereby people are now trying to clean up companies' backlink strategies, and it's important because Google is getting smarter about backlinks. And the sort of things, if you go into the again, look at the Google guidelines, let me just read you a few of these, and there are another half dozen or so. Buying or selling backlinks that press PageRank. PageRank is something that Page and Brin, the founders of Google, if you like, identified when they built Google to start with, which is a scoring method of scoring a page. But you can buy or sell links. Excessive link exchanges. I'll link to you, you link to me. That's been nerfed a long time ago. Large-scale article marketing or guest posting, I just mentioned that. Google it's sort of geared. In other words, if you suddenly get 1,000 inlinks to your page, that looks very suspicious. Using automated programs, to create backlinks. All of these things are now, not a good idea. Now, buying links, what's called paid links. And the question here, if you look at this carefully, you look at this second sentence, this includes exchanging money for links or posts that contain links, exchanging goods or services. Okay, so let's give you a scenario. Company launches new fragrance, new perfume, new piece of jewelry, whatever it is, and they send a free sample to a blogger who then writes about that item and then hyperlinks back. The question here is, of course, how do Google know? I mean, in essence, for years we've had in the traditional PR business, we've had, of course, companies that manufacture things and make things and sell things, send those things to bloggers to review, and bloggers will review those things and hopefully link to the pages. I think what Google is concerned about is the reason those things were sent to the reviewers. If clearly, I don't think they have an issue when a business or a brand sends products and it gets a genuine review with a genuine link, negative or positive. I don't think Google has an issue with that. I think what Google has an issue with is people buying backlinks. Of course, I mean, in the real world, of course, Google cannot know when that scenario is happening. But the point is that Google has to take a stand somewhere. So what it's basically saying is, look, people, you can't buy backlinks, or you shouldn't buy backlinks. I don't think it's seriously trying to make a statement that it's against product reviews and so on and so forth appearing in newspapers or magazines online, linking back to pages. I just think it's the essence, and of course it has to make a stand because, again, it wants its pages to be as honest as possible. Just some tools here if you want to check your backlinks, and again, it's something any SEO expert or experts like ourselves can help you with, or indeed you can do it yourself if you have the time. And these are some tools. You've got Ahrefs, which again is a backlink checker. You got here link research tools. I just put these in for those of you who want to do this for yourself. Obviously, you're going to have to spend time on checking the backlinks to your site, and indeed then contacting any sites that have linked to you using so-called toxic links and ask them to remove them. You can use the Google disavow tool to tell Google to take no notice of them. But these are the type of tools that an agent's going to be using, and then following on from finding out where you've got bad backlinks, obviously there's a certain amount of liaison emails and so on that need to be sent out, but you do need to have a decent link strategy. And of course, the very well known and rather excellent Majestic. Again, these are we're talking about fairly hardcore SEO here, and these tools will be used to not only find a linking strategy, and by the way, in brackets, you can also use these tools to find competitors' linking strategies as well, but then actually act on it. And I guess that's where most people or most businesses or brands are looking for expertise in. Okay, so we know we've got all these backlinks, which ones are good, which ones are bad. The tools help you to some degree. What do we do about those links? How can we contact, how can we actually get rid of the bad ones and get more of the good ones? And of course, that's really the essence of good SEO is getting not only good on page, but of course good off page as well, which means the backlinks. So these are some of the tools, but for those as I say, for those of you who want to do this yourself, then there's a few tools for you there. So what about the future? Because we're coming to the end of the session. Well, in a sense, to learn about the future, we need to look at the past. So this is something done by Moz. You may again have seen this. I've used this slide a couple of times before. Quite a detailed slide, but basically this is a survey put out to global experts. I think it was 120 by Moz, and they do this every 2 years, and then they put all the data together and then they report, and it goes into quite a lot of detail around the side. You can see all the different things. So the lozenge things in the words in white are things I've added, because in essence you can see that it's still about on page, which is the bit in, if you like, the red and the blue sections there. So you've got the on page SEO. You've got a bigger section with regards to links. So again, it talks about in links. These are links to your web pages. But what's interesting, and it's really only 7.24% at the moment, but it is growing, is the social links that you get from social networks. Now, there's a whole science of how to get decent links from social networks and how long they last and the benefits you get from them and how to build them and so on and so forth, how to encourage them, which again we'll be certainly covering in future webinars, how to use social to get better listings in search. And you have to be very careful with that, by the way, because you have to be very careful about the genuineness or the ethics that you apply when creating or getting backlinks from social media. Also, you have to be aware of the nature of social media, the fact it is a real-time media, which means that you can get benefit short term. You might not get so much benefit long term, which means you have to build up a presence on social media over a period of time. And that does take time, but at the same time, obviously, you've got to be aware that you have an audience, a real, genuine audience of real people, and they don't just want to read posts that are just there for the backlinks. So we will be covering that, as I say, in future webinar. But it comes down. So this gives us an indication of how things are going to move forward in the future. So what I thought I would do is I would put my, get my crystal ball out, because I thought, well, okay, what can one assume? If you look back at the last, say, 10 years of SEO, what can we assume is going to happen in the future? So in this last few minutes, I'm just going to quickly cover off what I think we should be aware of for the future. The first is greater personalization. Google is all about ad revenue, and the point there is that we are going to see more and more results tailored to our own demographic and our own behavior and our own attitudes. The results we see are going to become even more personalized than they are at the moment. And that, of course, is a huge challenge for search engine optimization, because if we're all seeing different results, how do we deal with SEO? How can we be, how can we be more visible? Well, the answer actually to that is good content. Have really good content, which is why a lot of SEO agencies now and people who do SEO keep going on about the need for good content. You can't really do what we used to do 3 or 4 years ago, which is build sort of straightforward, simple, one-line hyperlinks, if you like, from blogs and so on and so forth. Doesn't really work so much anymore. You need to have a proper content campaign, and that takes time and effort to create decent content. At the same time, greater localization as well. Google, again, think about it. It's there for its users and its advertisers. Of course it's there for people to find things, but localization. So this is going to also increase. Google already, through things like Google Plus and DPS and so on and so forth, can geolocate us, but this thing of where you are, searching dependent on where you are. And this actually provides a lot of people talk about ranks, search engine positions, if you like. Where am I in the search engine? Well, I'll tell you something. There's no such thing, I don't think anymore, as an absolute position. And there's no such thing as an absolute position, because it depends on what device you're using. It depends on where you are. It depends on whether you're logged in or not logged into Google Plus, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So it already depends on multiple factors. And in fact, most of the position checking software scrapes results from the Google pages, which Google doesn't really like, but it is dependent on, again, where the element doing the scraping is based. I mean, the results are going to be different. The only way you can get absolute results is going into Google Webmaster Tools, and if you do that, you only get so-called aggregate positions anyway. So this whole thing about position obsession is got to be considered in this light of, okay, where was the person searching? Okay, who was that person? Were they logged in? Were they not logged in? And so on and so forth. And that's going to become increasingly the case. Google are not going to put the brakes on that. They are going to increase that element, the personalization, localization, and device-specific searches that it already applies. Okay, so more big brand dominance. Why did I say that? That's because Google, again, it's a trend they've been moving towards. There's been sort of mention of things like Trust Rank, but we are going to see more larger brands dominating more positions in the search engines, because it's clearly a trend that's been going on now, certainly since Penguin and Panda, and seems to be a trend. So if you're a smaller business, how do you deal with that? Well, the answer to that is be a specialist. Yeah, if you're a smaller business, emphasize your specialisms, because the bigger brands, of course, many of which I train, their teams in SEO, and if you are from a big brand, then you are going to get better positions. Things are going to improve for you over the next coming years, because that's the trend, and Google wants to support that. But if you're a smaller business, then of course you've got to be smart. You've got to be clever. Gone is the time when a lot of the tiny brands out there could dominate all the positions for widely sold products by the big brands. And my finest one is more focus on rich media. We have already seen the growth in rich media over the last 3 or 4 years. And again, you look to the past to see the future, much more. There's going to be even more video. So video and other rich media, so microsites, apps, polls, interactive infographics, things like that. We're going to be seeing more focus on that. The web is as much about rich media and video and audio as it is about text nowadays, and I'm sure we're going to see a massive increase in that. People already know that if you use an image or a video in social media, you get much more traction, you get much more sharing. So whenever you're doing your social media, always make sure you do use an image if possible, or a video if possible, and you get much more sharing. It's what people want, and again, I'm sure that the search engines are going to support that as well. So that's it. I'm just going to click this out to see if I've got any questions. I can find the right questions. Here we go. I've got questions. Hang on. I've got a question up here. What is the best way to set a monthly budget for spend on SEO? That's a really great question, actually. It's very difficult. The best way is to start with the keywords. Yeah. Determine what keywords you want to be top for. Okay. Then what you can do is you can go and do. You can go into a paid search campaign and use an app within paid search. You don't actually have to pay anything into the paid search campaign. You can set the paid search campaign up. You don't even have to give it any credit card details. You can set up a paid search campaign without paying for it, if that makes sense. And that then gives you access to an app within that called Keyword Planner. Okay. Now, what Keyword Planner will tell you is the bid price, the CPC, or the cost per click of that keyword if you were to bid for it. Okay, so let's say you wanted, I don't know, crazy example, let's say you wanted to target red widgets. You need to know what the cost per click is for red widgets. Now once you've worked out the cost per click, you can then convert that backwards and say, okay, so my conversion rate's going to be 2%. Okay, so if I wanted a sale from paid search on that, this is how much it would cost me. What it will also tell you is the level of competitiveness for that particular phrase. So immediately what you've got is an estimate of how much a cost per acquisition is going to be using or targeting a particular key phrase. Yeah. So you've actually got some numbers. You can say, okay, cost per acquisition is going to cost me £50 to get that customer if I used paid search, right? What you then have to think is, okay, if I'm going to use organic search, right, how much am I going to need to spend? And that's going to give you an indication of the budget you're going to need, because you don't need probably as much as the paid search, because paid search is like this isn't always the case, but it will give you an idea of the competitiveness. Now, if it's highly competitive, then obviously it's going to cost you a lot more. Right, but you can work that out using the Keyword Planner, because you can work backwards. You can say, okay, this is the cost per click. Let's say you're going for car insurance, right? Well, car insurance, last time I looked, was around £20 a click. Yeah. So in order to get top organically for car insurance, it's going to cost you a small fortune, right? But because you can say, okay, it's going to be £20 a click. How many clicks do I need to make a sale? I need 50 clicks. 50 times 20, that's £1,000 or but the profit margin obviously on a annual car insurance policy is a lot less than £1,000. It's going to cost me £1,000 to get a customer. You know, that will give you an indication, right, of how much you have to spend on organic. What I would do if you're thinking about organic, the first thing to look at to try and answer your question is look at the keywords and the cost of buying those keywords, and then say, okay, that's what's going to cost me to buy my sale, if you like. How can I better that? Same thing in if you look, we've done a lot of work in the business to business area. for Microsoft partners, and there is a number, it's a few £100 of getting a meeting with someone. So if they put a telemarketing team on it, costs them, telemarketing teams these days in the UK will cost you something like £300 for an appointment. So it's the cost per acquisition. If you can get that same meeting through using organic search at, say, £50 an appointment, or £100 an appointment, you're doing very well. So in a sense, you want to work it back and say, how much does it cost me at the moment to get a customer or a lead? Yeah. And then say, okay, if we can reduce that and we want, say, X amount of customers or X amount of leads, and we reduce that to whatever it is, 70% or 50% or 30%, that's the amount of money you should be pushing at your organic search. And if you achieve that, you should achieve that, because a reputable SEO agency, if you come to them and say, okay, we want to be top for London apartments and we've got £500 to spend, a reputable SEO agency will tell you, don't throw your money away. You'll never achieve that. Yeah. But if you came and said, we don't want to target London apartments, we want to target, I don't know, Kemp Town luxury apartment or something like that, that's doable. Do you see what I mean? It's all about the keywords. That was what determines your spend. Realistically, I think that, like everything in life, the smaller you make something, if you're starting off with a budget of £100, it's probably a good idea to spend that £100 in a different way of marketing, not SEO. I would probably do some maybe email marketing or something like that. I think that you get to the point where a small budget makes no sense. But equally, a decent agency will be able to advise you on what you should be spending based on, and what they should do it is base it on, is the competitiveness of the keywords. Okay, let me just see. That was Kevin. Alex, do you know any sites that are good examples of using schema.org? Yes. What I will do is I will mail you some of those. If you drop me a direct message via LinkedIn, what I'll do is I'll mail you a list of sites using decent schema.org. Easier that way, and also how they're using it. High competitive keywords for big startups. What strategy do you recommend? That is Mahmood. Yeah, Mahmood, what you need to do is it's a difficult one, that. Let me just, okay, let's just go. I'm trying to, this bloody box is too small. Let's see if I can open that a bit longer. I'm sort of reading it in one line at the moment. So high competitive keywords for big startups. So you've got big startups. What strategy do you recommend? Right. Okay, so it's a big startup. It's well funded. Yeah. It depends on of course what sector you're in. What strategy do you recommend? The key thing, as I say, is to get your on-page right. I mean, your on-page is, you know, as I said, I've run over an hour, by the way, so if anyone wants to leave, I won't be offended. Yeah, the key there is to, again, start with your keywords. What keywords do you want to be top for? Make sure that your pages are optimized as well as they can be. Insider tip: I think if you're a startup and you want to compete on phrases that have already been are already highly competitive, the answer actually is video. Think video. Make a series of videos based around those keywords. There's still a lot of space in the whole video SEO area, and if you create videos that target those keywords, what happens is you'll appear in terms of universal search. So I don't know what the keyword is that the keywords are that you're targeting, but people love things like how-to videos. Yeah, so if you create videos, now just on a point on the videos have to be good and they have to be interesting. I would keep them to 2 minutes, highly optimized for your target keywords, very interesting, well made. If you're a big startup, then you've got budget for that. It does come down to content, but if you want a quick win, then make videos, yeah, and make a series of them, and then use your social media networks, build your social media networks, but of course off ramp to the videos. So constantly be pushing the videos. Really good way of doing it. I've seen a lot of startups in areas like consumables, like food products and things like that. You know, they come out of nowhere. You look at someone like, say, Innocent Drinks, which is a sort of iconic, rapid startup that rapidly became very large. It was about its content. It was Innocent Drinks, they used to do events and so on and so forth. It was about the cool content they were creating all the time. It's about content. Think content, but very specifically think video. That would be a really good way to get your attention. Their people's attention. So please mail them to me as well. Yes, okay. So I've mentioned a lot of things in this session, a lot of free ebooks. I hope you will be putting the webinar up on site, but I hope just contact me, say you want this, you want that, no problem at all, very visible. I'm on LinkedIn, hopefully we are LinkedIn, and we'll get all of those things to you, because obviously the more we can help you, that's great. And what goes round in life, I've always found, comes round anyway. So let me just go on to the last slide. So Q&A. If you have, summary. This is what. So the summary. Get the basics right. What does that mean? Learn the basics. Go and find out what they are from Google. Yes, go to Search Engine Strategy, Moz, and those other places. But if Google's got mountains of pages, and it has, telling you how to do things right, heck, it's free. You can go and read it. You can literally do those things. Images, videos, snippets, I mentioned specifically, particularly videos, really good videos. Keep up to date. If you can't keep up to date, or you don't have the time to keep up to date, then get someone else like your agency, or like us, he said in brackets, keeping you up to date for you, okay? Be mobile friendly. It's a no-brainer. I've been saying that for the last 3 years. Be mobile friendly, responsive design, have great content, something else I've been saying for years. Avoid penalties. Sometimes you can get penalties unknowingly. Sometimes there are people out there who will particularly build bad backlinks to your website so that you get penalties. Make sure you haven't got any, okay? And have a solid link strategy, okay? So good links. So you're not just, you've got to create good content to get the links, so that covers everything else as well. And future-proof your website. If you need to start again, then start again. But build a site that adheres to those Google guidelines, or make it adhere to those Google guidelines. Because the point is, remember, if we're going into personalization and localization and all those things, then your site needs to be as good as it can be, and that means revisiting it, checking it, and so on and so forth, and making it as good as it can be, and particularly the content. Okay. Now, hopefully I've given you some guidelines there. As I said, I'm always open to emails and questions and so on and so forth, and I'll be checking out the tweet stream. Hope you've enjoyed. And there's some, if you need, another thing, if you're still listening, and you've done really, really well, because you've been going now for 65 minutes, if you're listening to this and you want a free hour of consultancy, simply email to talktome@whitehatmedia.com. We won't give you the heavy sales pitch or anything like that. We'll tell you about your website as honestly as we possibly can, and your social media. Just pop the words free 1 hour or free or something to me at this talktome@whitehatmedia.com. No obligation to use us. I don't care if you're using another agency. I don't care if you don't use us. We're still happy to give anybody who's listening to this a free 1 hour of consultancy to illustrate and show you how you can improve your web presence and ultimately your web sales, of course. It's been it's a weird thing doing these webinars, because you get the questions, but it would be nice to actually talk to you guys. But thanks very much. Hope you've enjoyed it, and here's some contact details. And now I have to go. Thank you very much for your time, and hopefully you'll be in touch. And if not, I hope you enjoyed the last hour or so. Thanks very much. Bye now. I think it was the mic on that picking it up, but you weren't logged in on that.
Logged in, but I was under a different account. But then I was thinking it could have been because of my microphone, but my mic is obviously off.
But that's got a mic. The laptop's got a mic.
But it shouldn't interfere because I was through the headset. And even though there's no thing on there, it shouldn't pick it up.
I thought we dealt with it.
Yeah, it was fine. It was like 10 seconds.
Yeah. What I did is when I realised there was a problem, I unmuted. So I muted myself.
Yeah,
So we, I mean, what we'll do, when we I better turn the bloody. Still logged in. What we'll do is we can cut that bit out. Basically.
Yeah.
In fact, with the previous one, the point is we could manufacture perfect versions. It's just such a... I'm trying to find the right technology to do it, and I've tried Camtasia. Well, I haven't tried Camtasia, it's too expensive. I've tried two, and it just literally sounded like I was talking to a bloody tin can. I felt that one went quite well.
It's good, you've got loads of questions at the end, which is really good.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And I think that's the bit you want to keep in, because that's
Definitely.
definitely makes it live. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know any examples of Sitemap.org.
No, I didn't think you did.
I was going to say hours, I don't even know where they get. Yeah,
You covered it up well. I can see it in your page. It was like...
I'd have guessed e-consultancy, but they've not even got responsive design yet. So I'm now going to walk back to, I'm going to contact Kevin and say, we're using Schema.org. I think we are.
Well, what is it? Schema.org?
It's just a method of it's just it's sort of enhanced HTML basically. Read about it. I've mailed you the hyperlink. Just you go in there and it's got a whole shitload of stuff you have to do. I knew actually I was going to get a question on that. What amazed me, what absolutely blew me away is when I was going through the guidelines, there's so much you can get right and there's so much you can get wrong. I mean, Google provides lists. It's lists and then lists and lists and then lists and lists and lists of stuff. I mean, you could inadvertently fuck it all up. Not you. It could be inadvertently fuck it all up. By the way, I bigged you up because it makes it personal.
Yeah.
Charlie's list makes it personal. Do you see my thinking on that?
No, yeah, that's good. That's good.
It wasn't it's because it makes us real people.
Yeah,
you can even market it as Charlie's list. It's different. It's not the White Hat Media audit. It's Charlie's list.
Exactly. It doesn't come from one of my staff.
No, exactly. No, Charlie spent 2 or 3 weeks, pulling together all these audits. I mean, that makes it. It makes it. You're talking to people, and that was actually it was a momentary thing. I thought, why not just call it Charlie's list? Thinking, why not? It's memorable, and fuck it. If in 2 years,
a lot of freebies. It's a good moment not to turn up to this one.
Oh, absolutely. Well, but it's everything we've already got, and I just want people to engage.
Yeah.
So I just want people to engage with us.
How many do we have online?
I don't know, but I wouldn't worry too much because I'm thinking the last time I looked we had 12, but I didn't get it out, but I would have thought it went up to 20, 30. I'd have thought.
Are we doing our videos?